Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k. We're doing a Raid It or Hate It. We're doing Hexmark Destroyer, Necrons Codex. Let's get straight into it. Right, Hexmark Destroyer, data card. On a 50mm base, on his own, pretty cool. He's an infantry model, character, so he can use enhancements, also very cool. Statistic wise, he's got a movement of 8 inches because he's a destroyer. Pretty fast if you want to move him on foot. Toughness 5, not too bad. 3+ armor, no invulnerable save, 5 wounds, leadership 6+, and OC just 1. Just 1 on the OC. I mean, he's on his own. Even if he had 2, it's not going to make much of a difference, really. But yeah, he's a character. You can't expect too much there. Range weapon-wise, he's got the Emetic Disintegrator. Let's start that again. The Emetic Disintegrator pistols. He has got, well, he's got 6 of them on his model. So that will basically mean 6 shots. We jump ahead. It's a pistol, of course, and it ignores cover. So the fact that it's a pistol is good for a few reasons. First of all, you can fire within engagement range. But second of all, a little bit more of an advanced play here. You're eligible to shoot, even though you're in engagement range. So if you've got secondary objectives that relate to, giving up your shooting, if you're eligible to shoot, you don't shoot, you do the action. I know that's a 9th edition term. But you do say deploy teleport homers, you're still eligible to shoot even though you're within engagement range, so therefore you can still do deploy teleport homers within engagement range, which is pretty cool. Ignores cover, which cover is quite a big deal in 10th edition. It's quite difficult to not get cover, so by ignoring that will definitely help for the weapon that he's got, the pistols. 18-inch range, not too bad at all. 6 attacks because of the 6 pistols. You're hitting on 2s, he doesn't miss that often. Strength 6, minus 2 AP, 1 damage. Strength 6 against the small stuff is great because you're wounded on 2s, because they're normally toughness 3. But even against the standard stuff, the toughness 4, toughness 5, you're still wounded on 3, so pretty decent. Minus 2 AP is perfect and it ignores cover, don't forget, so therefore it will be minus 2 AP, providing that there's no modifiers from stratagems and abilities, so it will be minus 2 AP. 1 damage, slightly lacking there, but this is a single model, which is 70 points, which again, we always do this, we forget the points because they put it in the bottom right hand corner of the data card. Why not put it at the top? Anyway, for 70 points you can't expect, I mean maybe you can, you could probably expect a bit more, but with 6 shots it'd probably be overpowered with 2 damage, maybe, I don't know, talking point I suppose. That's the range weapons. You've got the melee weapon, which is just a close combat weapon. It's strength 5, you hit on 3s, no AP, 1 damage. Pretty much improvised weapons at that point. Not doing much. Yeah, don't expect a lot. Ability wise, there's some cool abilities with this guy. First of all, Deep Strike. I mean, that's not cool, unique, but the core ability of Deep Strike is fantastic for a number of reasons. We'll get onto it a bit more deeply in the tactics section, but I'll briefly touch upon it now. Deep Strike with a 70-point model is amazing. A single model that can pop in into the corner of the battlefield undetected. His footprint is very small. It's only 150mm base, so it's quite easy to get it in. Your opponent is going to struggle to screen off in everything and not provide a 50mm space, so that's beautiful. And the second ability from there makes it just as important, really. The lone operative ability. It can't be targeted unless your opponent is firing within 12 inches. So if you're deep striking in and there's a huge gap, then there's a chance that they won't even be able to target him. So he can just stay there doing the things that we'll talk about in the tactics section. So really good abilities that combine quite nicely together, and it gets better than that in his unique stuff. We'll get onto that in a moment. He's got the faction ability of reanimation protocols, of course. This is Necrons Codex. But the unique stuff, we've got inescapable death. This is the first one that kind of goes hand in hand with lone operative in a way. So once per turn, 1 unit from your army that's got this ability, so 1 of your Hexmark destroyers. If you've got multiple, it's only 1. You can use the Fire Overwatch stratagem for free, so for 0 CP, even if you've already used this stratagem already in this phase. So if maybe your Locust Heavy Destroyers with the Exterminators have used Overwatch potentially, and you want to go with it again with the Hexmark Destroyer, you can do so, and it will be free as well. And furthermore, you're going to be doing your Overwatch on 2s, not 6s. So you're very likely to actually be hitting, because with 6 shots, hitting on 2s, that's likely it's an average of 5, isn't it? 5 hits. If there's a light infantry unit trying to tag you, yeah, you're going to be wounded on 2s, probably not giving them a save. You're going to kill 4 or maybe even 5, depends on invulnerable saves, depends on who you're going up against and all that jazz. But it's a decent ability if they do get within 12 inches, if they do get within that charging potential, you want to fire Overwatch. And that can happen in the movement phase as well. So if they're not within that charge range, then Lone Operative kicks in. They're not going to be able to fire at the Hexmark Destroyer. So it's kind of good, and all these abilities are kind of working hand in hand. The second ability, Multi-Threat Eliminator, slightly works differently to the other ones. Still pretty good in itself. Once per turn in your opponent's shooting phase, when an enemy unit makes a ranged attack that targets a Necron unit within 3 inches of your Hexmark Destroyer, basically one of your Hexmark Destroyers in your entire army can use this ability, and they get to fire as if it was our shooting phase. So again, you're going to take more of these shots with these disintegrated pistols, but this time it's your opponent's turn, not your turn. So you're doing it in your turn, maybe you're doing it in your opponent's movement phase if you're doing fire Overwatch, and then in your opponent's shooting phase, maybe you're firing again. So you could get potentially 3 lots of shooting done in a single battle round with one single Hexmark Destroyer. So it's pretty impressive. Even though it's only strength 6 minus 2 AP 1 damage, it's still a lot of shots for just a 70-point model. Now, he used to have precision before the Codex. In the index he had precision, and then they exchanged that for Ignores Cover. I definitely preferred precision, but Ignores Cover is still pretty good, so you've got that aspect anyway. Yeah, I think all the abilities combined definitely make the Hexmark Destroyer a pretty decent character. Anyway, let's move into my tactics. What are we talking about with the Hexmark Destroyer? How am I using it? What do I do with it? So there's a number of things you can do with it. So it's more of a utility character. The first thing you can do is basically make use of that deep strike ability. You're going to be popping in, maybe behind enemy lines, investigate signal, deploy teleport homer, engage on all fronts. Those kind of secondaries that you can either pull if you're playing tactical or if you're playing fixed. And some of those have been selected, or 2 of them could be selected for your fixed missions. You could be using these Hexmark Destroyers to score every single battle round. Not so much battle round 1, because you can't deep strike battle round 1 unless you're playing the Hypercrypt. I'm not going to get into that again, but yeah, this thing can be scoring loads of secondaries, potentially primaries depending on the mission, but really it's about the secondaries. And your opponent is not going to like it. They're going to be like, we need to deal with this thing because it's scoring points, whether it's tacticals, whether it's fixed. We need to get rid of it. They need to get within 12 to shoot at it, or they need to get close to make a charge move. They're going to have to face some Overwatch. So they're going to take damage just by confronting it, and it's all in their turn. So they're getting distracted by this 70-point model, which I really like. Now, the Lone Operative is also very useful because maybe you're going up against a very aggressive faction that likes to leave their deployment area, go further afield. I mean, you can, when you're going up against, say, Orcs, when you're going up against Chaos Demons, which I play quite a lot, they're quite aggressive, they tend to leave the backfield, and they're just getting in your face, especially Khorne. They just want to go and fight stuff. So when they're leaving loads of space in the backfields, this is where your Hexmark's going to love it. They're going to pop in. I mean, yes, they've got all their shenanigans with their coming out of the warp and all that stuff. Yes, you can expect that, and maybe your Hexmark Destroyer will eventually die. But I think the trade-off is okay, because you're scoring victory points for 70 points effectively and distracting your opponent at the same time. I mean, if he does survive, you're going to continue to score those secondaries as well, don't forget. Now, if you're playing the Hypercrypt Legion, let's break into some detachments now. If you're playing the Hypercrypt Legion and he does survive your opponent's turn, you can hyperphase him out and then bring him back into a different location. Maybe you've got a different secondary card, because now you've seen your cards, because it will be your movement phase when he pops back in. So if you are playing tactical, you've seen your cards, and maybe instead of having deployed teleport homer, which you had in the previous turn and you've completed it, maybe this time it's engage on all fronts and you've already got something in that quarter. So you think, you know what, I've already hyperphased him out, he's already in strategic reserves, I'm going to bring him back in with deep strike on the other quarter in the enemy deployment zone, so that you're going to have that engage on all fronts on all different quarters. So you can use that to your advantage by seeing the cards, or again, if you're playing fixed, you know what you need to do. It's just a measure. It's just a basic way of getting him out, putting him back in a safer location. Maybe your opponents have started to make their way towards him. Take him out, put him somewhere else. I like to use him in the Awakened Dynasty as well, because he could be used as a home objective or home deployment zone character, holding the Phasal Subjugator Aura enhancement. So it's a 6-inch aura for 35 points. Everything around it gets a +1 to the hit roll. So it's like having command protocols, except it works for the units that can't be led. That could apply to the Canoptic Doomstalkers, Doomsday Arcs. I mean, they've got heavy, but now your Doomstalkers can move and get a better firing lane and still get the +1 to the hit roll, because they've basically got heavy there, but they've moved. So anything that can't be led, maybe it's Canoptic Spiders, maybe you've just not got a character in an immortal unit. So you can give them all +1 to their hit roll. But I think it's better served on the bigger stuff. Maybe it's, again, Locust Heavy Destroyers. They've got heavy with their Destructors. And maybe you've not got a Locust Lord in there. Maybe you've not got the model. I don't know. But with the Hexmark Destroyer, you can run around with those Locust Destroyers. You're not going to get heavy anymore because you move, but a +1 to the hit roll. Effectively, you're still hitting on 2s. Now, what's great about this dynasty in particular, the Awakened Dynasty, is the Protocol of Eternal Revenant. So if you lose a character model, then at the end of the phase, he's going to be coming back to life. It's only 1 CP, he's going to be coming back to life with half its wounds remaining. I think that rounds up to 3. I'm not entirely sure, I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it rounds up. So he'll be back with 3 wounds remaining. And again, I'm going back in full circle here, but if he's doing all your secondaries, maybe you're doing that Deep Strike ability and just trying to score Investigate Signal or something like that, and they actually eventually kill him, well, he's coming back for 1 CP at the end of the phase. So if it's the fight phase, then that's all your opponent's shooting and fighting done. If it's the shooting phase and they've still got potential charge moves, yeah, you need to assess it a little bit more before you actually do bring him back. Now, the other utility with the Hexmark Destroyer is that multi-threat eliminator ability. You can stick him virtually within 3 inches of anything to be able to reshoot again. Now, it's a shame he lost precision, you know, because I used to use that to fire at characters that are hidden within units, the sort of low ranked characters like Apothecaries. You had Broodlords, you had Exalted Sorcerers. We used to even have our Necron Lords, like those kind of lower tier characters, Chaos Heralds and things like that. You can literally pip them off with precision with these pistols. Now, the Ignores cover ability, I think, is less desired personally, but it's helpful in another way, because against those light infantry targets that are probably going to try and tag your Hexmark Destroyer because of their speed and just a nuisance, they're just going to be a nuisance. You can gain that Ignores cover ability, and that -2 AP will stay -2 AP, which is all you need for anything that's got a 5+ armor save. Yeah, they're done. Now, comparatively, first of all, I want to talk about those death marks. They are 5 points cheaper, as we said. They've got Deep Strike, so they're going to fulfill the same sort of role when it comes to scoring secondaries. They don't have Lone Operative, of course, and they don't have the character keywords. There's no enhancement options for death marks, but they've exchanged that for their snipers, effectively. So you can snipe out characters, and they're not going to give up assassination points either. Now, when you think about the stats of a death mark, you've got 1 wound models, aren't they? They're toughness 5, 1 wound models. That's virtually the same. The Hexmark Destroyer is also toughness 5 with 5 wounds. So comparatively very similar. The movement, in fact, is better with the Hexmark Destroyer. So yeah, similar units, very similar use. One's got precision, one's got lone op. That's how I see that. Now, if you're talking about the backfield enhancement holders for maybe in the Awakened Dynasty, there's only really Illumina Zares that's got lone operative, but his battlefield role is very different, and he's 160 points, so it's a little bit different really, more than double the points cost, so it's not really comparable. Now, you could stick that enhancement on a character that's just leading a unit. It could be an Overlord with some Immortals, but if you've got, say, 10 Immortals with the Overlord, the footprint around the Overlord has slightly been taken up by the Immortals, which are already being led. They've already got the +1 to the hit roll. So you've got less space for your Doomstalkers that are around there, or your Doomsday Arcs, Canoptic Spiders, whatever you're trying to apply the enhancement to. And not only that, if he's following, say, some Canoptic Spiders around, or some Doomstalkers around, with Immortals. That's quite a clump of models. Do you need that huge clump of models that's potentially on just one objective, or defending one objective, or trying to be aggressive to one objective? I think there's too many things going off and you don't necessarily need it. I think they need to be a little bit more spread out than that. So let's get on to the rate it or hate it section for today for the Hexmark Destroyer. Now, a lot of the time I would prefer to take death marks over Hexmark Destroyers. Until recently, in fact, I've started using Hexmarks more than I'd have with the death marks, because Lone Operative I think is a big deal. Lone Operative with a 70-point deep striking model that can carry enhancements, I think is so good. The abilities on top of that are a great bonus. I mean, you're paying 5 points more than the death marks, but you're gaining all those abilities to shoot in your opponent's movement or charge phase, to shoot in your opponent's shooting phase potentially. You've still got Ignore's cover, you've lost precision. So yeah, I think this one's an easy one for me, especially that I played the Hypercrypt Legion, so popping in and out with a deep strike unit is perfect. You can even do it turn 1. Again, I'm not going to get into it, but you can even get it in turn 1 if you go second, la-di-da-di-da. But yeah, easy one for me. This one is a rate it. So guys, you have to let me know in the comments down below, are you rating or hating it? Get involved in the Discord as well. We've got polls going off, as well as all the other community tabs that we've got going off. But guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.